Welcome to this week's Torah lesson. This week's Torah portion is Parsha Mishpatim. The question of the week is it possible to be a Beinoni or even a Tzadik? So in this week's Torah portion, Parsha Mishpatim, which comes right after the Torah portion of Parsha Yisro, we receive the Torah from Hashem. So the Torah begins and it says, Ve'elah Mishpatim asher tasim ofneim. We receive the Torah, and now Moshe Rabbeinu has to teach us the whole Torah. What is the first halacha we learn about? What is the first law we learn about? We learn about acquiring a Jewish male slave. And then the Torah goes on to tell us about a female slave, and later on it speaks about hiring a non-Jewish slave. Now we all know the Torah exists on a simple level, but also on a spiritual level, and on a practical level. So the question is, what is this whole idea of slavery? Hiring slaves, a Jewish slave, a non-Jewish slave, a male slave, a female slave. So the Alter Rebbe, in a classic Hasidic discourse of his, and the Tzadik, his grandson, said this is one of the most respectful Hasidic discourses from the Alter Rebbe. And he says the Alter Rebbe explains that when we talk about a Jewish slave, male slave, female slave, a non-Jewish slave, it's referring to our relationship with Hashem. And he describes it as follows. A Jewish male slave is referring to the level of serving Hashem like a Beinoni. And we'll explain to how. A Jewish female slave is referring to serving Hashem like a Tzadik. And a non-Jewish slave is referring to when we serve Hashem, unfortunately, as a Rasha. What does that mean? The Alter Rebbe explains as follows. There's three different ways you can serve Hashem. One way is you do what you're supposed to, but you're not happy about it. You would rather be a free person. What is that referring to? That's the Rasha. That's the wicked person, which that's represented by the Eved Kanani. He wants us to live his own life. He has to do what Hashem wants. He does it, but he's not happy about it. Then there's the Beinoni. The Beinoni loves to serve Hashem. He wants to pray, study, and do mitzvot, but it's not easy always. He struggles with it. He would love to do it. So that's why he's called an Eved Ivri. He's a slave, a Jewish slave. It means that he loves Hashem. He wants to pray and study the mitzvot, but it's hard for him at times. But he does it anyway, with love. Someone that's totally dedicated to Hashem. And that's the level of a tzaddik. So the Rebbe says, the Alter Rebbe explains, that's why the Torah begins with which type of slave first? The Jewish male slave. What is that referring to? The Beinoni. Why the Beinoni first? And the answer is because every single person could be a Beinoni. Then it goes on to speak about the Jewish female slave, because that's a tzaddik, because everyone could be a tzaddik. And then it also speaks about the level of an Eved Kanani, which is the wicked person, because the wicked person, even though you look at him as a wicked person, but the fact is a certain quality that the wicked person has, what the Beinoni doesn't have and the tzaddik doesn't have. What is that? The power to practice, and I'll say it in Hebrew, I'll translate, is skafia, restraint. It's an extreme powerful position to take, even though you're really not interested in Judaism, you're not interested in learning and studying and praying, but you do it anyway. That's called a skafia. And the power of a skafia is something which is so powerful that even the tzaddik and even the Beinoni need to come onto a skafia to be able to elevate themselves. But to answer our question, could we all be a Beinoni or even a tzaddik? And the Rebbe says, absolutely. We all have the power to serve God with tainug, with joy, with pleasure, with chayas, with energy. Absolutely we can do it. There are times, yes, maybe we're not necessarily holding on that level, but we still are committed and we could have a relation with Hashem from a level of tainug and chayis, which is the avoid of a Beinoni. And yes, the Rebbe says, we can also be a tzaddik as well, because the fact is we all have the power to transform ourselves, dedicate our lives, to learn Torah, do mitzvahs, and pray, and be totally connected to Hashem. Thanks so much for joining us for our weekly Torah lesson. This week's Torah lesson is dedicated to memory of Baruch ben Aryeh Leib, Shlomo Yosef, Rachel Baslipa, and Sina Basara. May their souls be elevated by the Torah we're studying in their memory. Thanks so much for joining us for our weekly Torah lesson. For more information, please see our website, chabad.swf.org. Have a great and blessed week. Shavua Tov.